As much as anyone that I have ever observed, Reverend Lynne truly lives the science of mind philosophy. She understands that the spiritual practices of visioning, spiritual mind treatment, and meditation are the tools that change lives when they are practiced regularly, and Reverend Lynne practices them daily. She is an inspiration to me, and we are so blessed that when her schooling was done, she wanted to come home to Salt Lake City and to our spiritual community. Please welcome home Reverend Lynne Heygster.
Okie dokie. That's okay. Thank you, Jody. So it is good to be back. It feels like it's been forever since I gave a talk. It's actually been a year since I've been in this capacity. How about that? So in the past 12 months, a lot has happened. Of course, Linda said some of that. It's also the beginning of the school year. I remember when I was young, that first week of school, you went back and you had to do the mandatory what I did for summer report. So I'm going to spend a few minutes telling you what I did for summer. Thanks, Jody. Drink. Okay. So first, I've been away for a while. I got called out of town for family a couple times, and I had to go out of town because of school. And being at school this year for my senior year, there's a rumor that says that what you do not heal or clear the 3 or 4 years leading up to your senior year will smack you in the face during that last year. So, so you got to do your work. So we do the work we best we can. And sometimes you don't know what's kind of lingering out there. So I had some things come up. Dr. Kathy Hearn, who was my dean at the San Diego campus, and we know her. She's been here a couple times speaking and doing some workshops with us. She explained that the senior year is a full time of transition with bigger mirrors, steeper hills, and darker situations. And that when a situation feels the darkest, that's when your light shines the brightest. That was consoling at times. But I had my dark spots, I had my doubts, I had confusion, I had a situation that I had no idea what I was looking at, and I probably drove some of my friends into the shadows trying to avoid me because of all the gabbing I was doing trying to figure things out. But in the time, I found mirrors that reflected back my crazy, and I found mirrors that reflected back my good. I made it through, I graduated, and I even got to be the one person who did a small talk at the graduation where I got to speak for our group of 7 graduates. And the name of the talk was Answering the Call to Ministry. And that was really important for me because my call to ministry is very concrete. There's no question what it meant to me, what it means to me now in this moment. And there's no question that my whole being doesn't want to be doing anything else but what it's doing right here, right now in this moment. Well, thank you. My brain doesn't even think like a normal person anymore, I don't think. My brain thinks in prayers and treatments, even when I'm looking at things, and it just kind of like it's automatic. But anyway, that's okay. So that's fun. So I'm glad to do that. I had envisioned that time from June 5th, which was graduation, until July 27th, which was the licensing panels. I envisioned that time would be rather blissful. That I would meditate, I would do my spiritual practice every day, I would prepare my mind and my body for the licensing panels, I would lay in the grass, I would spend time with my husband, who's been very patient while I've gone through all of this, and I would, just do what I needed to do. Bob and I went on a camping trip to Idaho, June 17th. We'd unpacked, set up, laid down to take a nap, and the phone rang. And it was our son and his wife who had delivered premature twins in April, and the twins were now home. Twins take more than 4 hands. They take more than 6 hands sometimes. And when 2 of those hands have to at least sleep for a little while and go to work the next day, they needed help. And would I come? So I did. So I went to Dallas for 5 weeks. And while I was there, I love babies. I held those babies, and I sang to them, I talked to them, and we slept in 1.5-hour intervals, feeding these little babies around the clock. And my hair started to fall out. It was emotionally and physically stressful. I had the appointment with my physical therapist set up before I even left Dallas. I'm not in my mid-20s anymore. I don't know if that's a secret, but it just doesn't. It was a little more difficult this time. But those babies are just amazing, and they were so tiny. While I was there, I ended up doing, I had my own little pity party, actually, a pity party, because I was upset because I didn't get to do my spiritual practice and do it the way I wanted to and have my life play out the way I thought it would. But what I found out was the most amazing thing, that as I held those babies, I talked to them, I sang to them while I was feeding them, and then I ended up doing spiritual mind treatment with them. And I ended up praying to them and with them. And when those little eyes are looking at you while you're in one of those prayers, it was nothing like it. It was amazing, and that became my spiritual practice. I realized that in those moments I was reminded of the one truth that when you least expect it, Spirit is always right there. It's never gone, and it never leaves you. I was right where I was supposed to be. I'm reminded of the phrase that says that the center of Spirit is everywhere and the circumference is nowhere. It's always Spirit. And it was right there in the prayer with these little babies. One of my favorite affirmations is that I am always in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right thing for the right outcome. And it's always served me. It's never failed me. And so I knew that what was happening was divine in that moment. We ended up, when my 5 weeks were up in Dallas, I got right on a plane, went to Denver. I forget where I was around the world at that moment. Went to Denver for the licensing panels. Bob met me there. Then we got the call that I had an aunt going into hospice in Prescott, Arizona. So we drove down to Prescott, Arizona for a couple days and took care of that. So I was finally home midnight, July 31st. So that's where my summer has been. So I'm still resting and sleeping more than I used to. But I have to say that the biggest moment of that summer was realizing that everywhere I went, Spirit was right there with me. There's only one, and it follows you, and you move in it. There was only one when I was there with the babies, with Bob, with the panels and the ministers, with my aunt in hospice. It's never gone. And I have to say that when you hold a little baby that has just come from the lap of God, there's nothing more divine than that. So, now here I am, and here I am to do spiritual practice with you. So let's begin. My talk today, the title of it is Conscious Use of Life's Gifts. It comes from the Centers for Spiritual Living Global Vision the Center for Spiritual Living Global Vision Outline that a lot of centers are using this year. You can travel around and visit some of the other centers, and you might get the same message, little different words, but you have this outline that a lot of the centers are using. The affirmation today is, we see a world which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. I have to admit I had to look that up. It's the study of beauty and taste. But I love the sound of the sentence, so I'm going to say it again. We see a world, which is our global vision, which has renewed its emphasis on beauty, nature, and love through the resurgence of creativity, art, and aesthetics. So let's look at that from a science of mind point of view. An important piece of the soul's journey is to fulfill our creative nature, and that's inherent in each one of us. So over the next few minutes, I want to talk about some of the tools that we're born with, that we are created with, that help us live out our creative life. Stephen Covey says every human has 4 endowments. The first is self-awareness. The second is conscience. The third is independent will. And the fourth is creative imagination. These give us the ultimate human freedom, the power to choose, the power to respond, and the power to change. Viktor Frankl wrote, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is the power to choose your response, and in your response lies our growth and our freedom." So if we combine those two quotes together, we know that the use of four endowments, which are self-awareness, conscience, independent will, and creative imagination, give us the power we need to choose, respond, and change to create a personal freedom. But it's in the space, in that gap between the stimulus and the response, where we create the choice of freedom to move forward or not. The four endowments are the tools that we use in combination to create our surroundings, our environment, our rules, and our choices, and even our perceptions that make life comfortable. So let's look at each of those. The first one was self-awareness, which is the conscious knowledge of one's own character, your feelings, motives, desires. The process of something may be difficult and uncomfortable, but you gained a greater self-awareness of yourself in that process. Self-awareness also develops from a little toddler who begins to realize that he or she is not connected to their parent anymore. And then they start growing and they get to learn how much fun it is to say no. An adult individual learns they have the personal power and assertion for themselves, and then with that, how do they fit into their environment? If we overlay that definition with the context of spirituality, the identity changes, the reorder of identity. So yes, I'm present and accounted for in my own right, and I'm also part of something greater that supports and sustains me as an individual. Second is conscience. It's an inner feeling or voice that's going to judge us whether we've done something right or wrong, or we feel bad or good about ourselves or something that we did. It compels us to reconcile the wrongs we judge for ourselves. If you mix it with compassion and concern, that helps us to see a healthy role of responsibility and awareness for our actions. And then we can use this as a foundation as we go forward and work towards right or divine action with something that we're doing for a good outcome. The third is independent will. Stephen Covey says that independent will is our capacity to act. It gives us the power to transcend our paradigms, to swim upstream, to rewrite our script, and to act based on principle rather than just acting on emotion or a circumstance. I also think independent will is that very thing that gives us the presence to know if what we're doing feels right for us, or are we doing something for someone else, and how do we want to do that. The past does not hold precedent over the present or the future. So therefore, we have the capacity to do something different and to make a different choice. This is where we know that we change our thinking, we change our life. That's your independent will. That's the vehicle that takes you in that route. There are those of us that truly do hear a different drummer, and that's okay. Spirit actually likes that, because when you step out of the box, that's when Spirit is expanding and expressing itself in a whole new way. And that's the whole purpose of life. Spirit is continuous, moving and expressing in itself all the time. That never stops, that never changes. And I'm going to repeat that again at the end. But it knows that one thing of itself, which is love and expression, right? So each and every individuation, each and every person here has a particular way of what creativity comes forward for them. That's your box. That's yours. The fourth item, endowment, is creative imagination, which is remixing old experiences with new image, and that's directed towards a goal, a new goal, or maybe problem solving. Cora Fillmore, which I didn't know Charles Fillmore had a second wife. Cora Fillmore said, "It is through divine imagination that the soul first gets the impulse to expand. In the silence, we learn to lift our vision above things as they commonly appear." This is where you get to play with your dreams and your fantasies and your fascinations. You feed them, you nurture them through your individuation. You nurture your soul. You develop the ability to see beyond the current paradigm and create something new. This is where you get to be a visionary. So these four things are the building blocks for the creative human spirit to grow. So if we put them all together, we can put them in a form of questions. with my self-awareness, where am I in the moment, and how do I sense myself in relationship to others? With my conscience, how do I feel about how I got there? With my independent will, am I living from my heart and doing the best of what feels right for me? And with my creative imagination, am I allowing the best of me and my God-given talent to come forward and be creative? So right here, this is the moment. This is the space between the stimulus and the response. Where are you in your answers to the questions? It's that in that space, that's where you move toward creativity, freedom, and purpose. Although some people may say, maybe next time. Where are you? When you get into this zone, when you're in that zone of letting that come forward and acknowledging that and claiming it, everywhere you turn, you'll be nurtured. Your ideas are nurtured, and your growth is nurtured in a whole new way. The universe does not play favorites at all. Everyone is equal in the creative process and creative play. It just looks different because we're all different. Somewhere along the way, did you ever experience that your creativity or your projects or your talent got squashed by someone else? A parent, a teacher, a sibling? I did. I grew amazing things. I had notebooks of artwork. And they're gone. But that's okay. I'm here. My resume looks like a phone book, but because I couldn't figure it out. And once I found this, I'm here. So my creativity is here. Where's your creativity? It's everywhere, because everybody can do things differently. There was an affirmation in the Science of Mind last Sunday, so I'm going to say it. I'm going to repeat it twice. The second time I say it, I want you to repeat it to your heart, yourself. And the affirmation is, the world is designed to love me. Everywhere I go, I find nurturing. So I'm going to say it again, and say it to yourself. The world is designed to love me. Everywhere I go, I find nurturing. And it's in the nurturing that we find a renewed emphasis on beauty and nature and love, the God things. And this is through the renewal of our own creativity and amazing art that touches our soul and aesthetics. Ernest Holmes says that spirit must always create. It is ongoing. Spirit is conscious intelligence. It has created us as conscious, intelligent beings. There is an eternal creation, a continual manifestation of creation. It just goes on and on, never stops. He says, there is no stagnation in spirit, nor should there be in our idea of spirituality. To be spiritual is to create. The spirit is alive, conscious, aware, and active. And so are we as well. Every single one of you. From Thoughts or Things, he says, to be creative seems to be a fundamental drive that out of necessity must find an outlet of constructive manner if one is to be a full and complete human being. So we are the outlet of spirit. In today's daily read, Neville Goddard and Ernest Holmes spoke that everything is already created. We don't create anything by ourselves. We're in process with spirit. It's created, all is created through spirit, waiting for us to create the outlet for the expression. This reminds me of the sculptor that looks at a stone and already knows that the figure is inside of the stone. What he's doing is creating an outlet for that to come out of the stone. Or how about the composer who all of a sudden gets this download of a symphony and it becomes magnificent and a masterpiece. It's already there. We're the outlet for spirit to express itself in every single way. Through our imagination, we collaborate with our personal desire by developing an attitude of already having received. It's already there. Even our spiritual practice of visioning, where we open to the impress of spirit, this is an outlet of creativity. So look at what you can do. You can do anything. The possibilities are endless. That's the nice part about human beings and having our individual thought and our will. Possibilities really are endless. We spend a lot of time right now, though. Our lives are busy. We're focusing on jobs, money, social media, requirement for living, but without the development and an outlet for our internal creativity, we might not get to experience something of beauty or aesthetics or another's art. How about the great books that take us to other worlds? Life would be without color and joy. So we need to add our own creativity to see that joy. Okay, so I'm not telling you have to be a professional writer or a professional artist or go out and change the world, but if you have an invention or something within you that's really kind of kicking around, nurture it. Let it come forward. Let it play. Because when you get to do that and celebrate, the world celebrates with you. All humans have a yearning to create in some way. It's inherent. So let it come forward. We are the vehicle for spirit to express itself. The universe is for us. We're always saying that. It's never against us. It's in us, and we are in it. So let's understand that these endowments, the 4 items, self-awareness, conscience, independent will, creative imagination, these 4 items are tools we use to focus and fine-tune our words and our intentions consciously to create the life we want, but also to allow the outlet of creativity to come through us. Our words are powerful. Our thoughts are powerful. Our actions are powerful. All of it. It works together. And when each of us is lifted in the joy because we have a new idea of something that's come forward or an invention, you'd be surprised how much the people around you are uplifted as well, because we're connected to all of it. So let them celebrate with you. And if you happen to be standing next to someone else who creates something, celebrate with them, because your celebration and love of what they brought forth helps you to open up that within you. It's all connected. It's never separate. We are expressing the most of what we are in every moment. Be aware of it. Let more of it come out. It's our life's purpose. And doing it in ways that bring greater beauty and joy and splendor and magnificent are very important aspects. And these allow each of you, all of us, to play our part in bringing more and more of the divine to the planet and for fulfilling spirit through us. Everything grows. So for this week, I invite you to watch and be mindful of the 4 endowments and the questions. Where are you with self-awareness, conscience, independent will, and creative imagination? Where does your thought go when you're in the space between the stimulus and the response? Will you move forward, or will you kind of wonder and wait till next time? Let's take that into prayer. I gently move into that space of the one, for there's only one, that is continuously expanding, moving, creating out of itself that which is love, that which is light and warmth, and an intelligence and a wisdom that goes into everything that it makes. And it is that piece of that self, that flicker and that flame, that is planted in the heart of every individual that's created. It lives and moves in me and allows me to think and bring joy into my world every day. And I know that for every individual here. It is that spark of divine creation that allows me to see beauty in the world everywhere I go, to feel the embrace of God in nature, and to know that everywhere I am is the perfect right place to be in that moment. I allow all of God's blessing to come into my life and guide me everywhere I go, with everything that I think and do. I know that for every individual here, there is that blessing of life that comes forward to guide them today in every thought, in every step, and in every choice they make to be the best that they can be. To see colors and beauty and art and creativity in places they didn't know it existed. I know that that love of life, which is that power and presence of God, comes forward and allows the blessing and the gratitude to come forward. And it just vibrates out from this building, this town, and just embraces this planet. And I know for every leader of this world, right now, and through every process, that creative expression still lives. And no matter what it looks like, I recognize that there is a divine plan behind it for a greater good. And know and put my love and intention in that, so that beauty continues to abound. I know great blessings for every heart that's here. I give thanks for this day. Give thanks for the hearts that grow in every leader, in every faith, in every philosophy, knowing that God speaks to all. And so with that good grace in my heart, I release this into the law with absolute gratitude, with joy, and know that everything expands because my human words cannot say the greatest of what God is. And so I know that this blessing expands in greater ways than I can imagine. And so knowing that this blessing is received, together we take this, we ground it, and we say, and so it is.